Welcome to Success Redefined with Dr. Tony Warner. I'm Dr. Tony, mom of 5, psychotherapist, author, and mentor. Here, you're going to find insightful discussions spanning science, psychology, and soul as the personal and professional meet, and we explore the intersection of what really matters. So success can be redefined with connection, healing, and fulfillment in mind. I'm joined today by Andrew Cannon to have a different kind of conversation about social citizenship, exploring if joy is even an important part of it for us to be happy, healthy, successful members in our society. And if so, what gets in the way of harvesting more joy as a parent, as a person, as a social citizen, especially when things are tough or unfair, or things are really a struggle or are looking really stark in a dark way. Andrew Cannon is the creator of the Art and Science of Joy program and also runs a nonprofit charity called EQJoy. He spent his career building a deep understanding of people's values, attitudes, and behaviors in order to help business people make better decisions. Over the last few years, Andrew used this knowledge and research in order to develop skills so that he could deep dive into the art and the science of joy. Through his own struggles with depression, Andrew learned the fundamental truth that to him, without a strong love of self and a sense of authentic belonging, one can't hope to lead a joy-filled life. Now on a mission to use his passion, his skills, to inspire, to educate, to empower others to live more joyfully and to be able to develop children's emotional intelligence as well. Let's go ahead and get hopping on into this conversation with Andrew. All right, today I have the honor of having Mr. Andrew Cannon with us, who I have just gotten the pleasure to speak with, collaborate with over the past, maybe over the past year-ish, something like that. And it has always been, I think, in our collaborations, Andrew, it's just been real. And that's what I'm about. That's what this podcast is about. I was just telling you right before I hit record, I was like, this is just about having a real conversation and being real. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to be real with the world. Go ahead, introduce yourself, and maybe tell us where you're located.
Very well. Andrew Cannon, English by birth. Or no, I can't say that. My mother would disagree. Half English, half Welsh by birth. And lived most of my adult life in Finland. So country renowned for being the happiest in the world. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit later. But I've spent, the last 10 years or so pretty nomadically around the world. My work's taken me all over the world. But in addition to that, I've been on a personal growth journey, which I've enjoyed. Just exploring this wonderful planet we have the gift to live on.
I love it. I love it. So you're a traveler. Is that what you said? You were you've been nomadic, or would you say you like to travel?
Yes. Yeah. I just was down in Guatemala and had a session with a Mayan shaman down there. And we looked at my Mayan calendar. And so my inner spirit is a jaguar, and my mission spirit is the wind. So
cool.
A jaguar and wind combined.
Wow. Well, that would be like a whole other conversation to dive into, huh? That sounds like an adventure.
It certainly was.
So neat. Well, I'm glad you're here because we're going to talk about something that feels really good and is like an upbeat topic. And then all at the same time, we're going to be meshing it with the stuff that doesn't feel good and stuff that's not so upbeat. And I think we need to do that so that, again, we can keep it real. And a big part of that is joy, which is a huge part of what you do. So before we dive in, do you want to tell us maybe a little bit about what even brought you to this focus on joy as your work that you're doing now?
Absolutely. So there's two parts to that story. There's sort of a corporate work journey and there's a personal journey. So maybe start with mixing those two. So my background career-wise is in market research. So in helping companies understand people, their behaviors, their attitudes, their values from a consumption perspective. And so I made a career out of that for about 25 years or so before I found myself becoming less and less motivated by this career, helping corporations make more money. So it wasn't motivating me in the same way anymore. And I felt I was lacking a purpose, a sense of purpose in doing that. And so to cut a long story short, I ended sort of on that part of my life in a pretty dark place, both in career and personal life, where my joy levels were extremely low. And so I was blessed enough to be given the opportunity at that point also to make a career change, which led me down a path with more freedom, more possibility and time to go inside where that real journey is, right, to finding the joy, even if it is easier to find outside. Ultimately it's inside where we need to find it. But we get back probably to that, why that's sometimes hard. But for me, it really was then a question of saying, okay, I'm now finding my inner joy. And I woke up one day basically thinking, well, how can I combine that with my skill set to help others maybe not go so deep into the depths of their unjoy, or if they do, maybe come out of them more quickly, to find their own path to joy in an easier way than I did. It must have taken me at least a good 7 to 8 years in that process to begin feeling, and it's still a continuous process, but at least now I'm in a place where I feel most days are good days and can feel that sense of joy, can understand what it is.
Yeah. So you started in the depths of darkness at some point, and sounds like your joy journey kind of found you.
Yeah, I hadn't been listening. I think, if we put a little spiritual hat on it, I think I wasn't listening to the message for quite a long time. I was just busy running my corporate life, being outwardly successful. But not having that lack of purpose was definitely eating at me from the inside. And at some point I got hit hard enough on the head to hear that message and was forced to listen. Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think a lot of people can relate to that. I know I can. I wasn't in corporate per se, but I did a lot of work, community-based work, school-based work, doing a lot of emotional support counseling, a lot of consulting as a clinical social worker, and so on and so forth. And through all of that, it's easy to get really sucked. For me, it was really easy for me to get sucked into doing as much as I possibly could, even though there was so much red tape and unethical things that I saw, or unjust things, right, that I saw. And it was hard. It was hard. It was hard. I've always loved my work in social work, but there were particular times in school settings that I did notice that I had started to get burnt out, because in most school settings, you're the only social worker. And so in this particular school setting, I was the only social worker, which is fairly common in the state that I'm in Pennsylvania. And I felt like I was the only one fighting for the justice and the ethics and the speaking up and advocating. And it was lonely, and it took a toll on me personally and professionally. And I honestly, Andrew, wasn't thinking about joy. To me, when I was in the depths of burnout, joy seemed like a luxury that I did not have time for. Do you know what I mean? It seems like joy is something that people that have everything smoothed out and you know what I mean? It's something that those people have time for, but that's a luxury I do not have time for. And I'm curious about if, whether that resonates with you and in your journey at all.
Absolutely. I have no time for joy. Didn't even understand the word really at that point. But I did understand happiness. I was buying my way to happiness at that point. I was fortunate enough to have a good job. And I was able to go out and have a nice meal or, buy another suit. I think I've got 7 beautiful grey suits in my closet somewhere. Trying to make up for that inner hurt with these external trinkets, shiny things, or this holiday here, this trip there, to experience or products. And that was, it gave me fleeting happiness, but, that quickly subsided. It wasn't lasting. So it's like getting a pay rise when you're in a job that you hate. It might do for 1 paycheck, 2 paychecks, but probably by the time you get your 3rd paycheck, you still hate the job just as much as you did 3 months ago. And it's the same with that joy and happiness. I think happiness as a feeling, as an emotion, it's great to have, but you can't hold on to it. You have to accept that life's hard sometimes. You need some sadness, you have some anger, some grief. You have all these different emotions come up, and they're all good emotions to feel. Whereas I think that sense of joy is something that when you can sit back for just a moment and breathe and feel into yourself, do you feel almost a sense of inner peace, almost a sense of, life could be hard, but it's okay. Right. And it's good. And it's different for different people. And I think that's, when we worked hard on what is the joy recipe, we tried very much to take it from an intangible feeling into, hey, these are the concrete building blocks that you can work with to find your own recipe for joy. And I think that helps a lot of people who sort of think of the concept, think, oh, I can't have joy. Well, no, but can you work on your optimism? Can you work on your resilience? These sort of micro skills that when pieced together, we know enable people to actually feel that joy. So think of joy as sort of the end result, but then don't worry about it, but think about how you're going to get there through these different skills that
When
can
you
help
say
you develop.
when you say joy recipe, can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, so again, putting on my researcher hat, once we sort of fixed on this word joy, it was then a question of, well, what is that? What is joy? And so, we did quite a large piece of attitudinal research looking at people who have a great amount of joy in their lives, which is about 1/5 of the population, give or take, and comparing those to, again, approximately the 1/5 of people who have no joy, who really struggle to find joy, as well as the 60% in the middle that have some joy, struggling, but okay. So we looked at those 3 types of people and analyzed who they are, what their lives look like, and came up with sort of what are the characteristics that define whether people have a lot of joy or not within their lives. And we found that most of those were soft issues related to their sense of well-being, for example, their sense of belonging, their ability to serve others, to have a positive impact. Those are some of the things that started to come out as areas that differentiated these groups of people. And so then when we dug deeper into, well, what is well-being, this belonging drives those, we were able to take it down to a more refined level. So for example, with well-being, there's your physical well-being, mental, your emotional, your spiritual. And then with each of those, you can break it down further to look at, okay, well, within emotional well-being, you need to look at things like your empathy skills, as an example. So, we could build up this little, like Lego blocks in a way, of these different aspects that we called in the end joy superpowers that people can start to work on in their lives to start finding, well, for me, it's this, right? If I work on my gratitude, I think that's going to help me develop a stronger spiritual well-being, which is something I'm struggling with. But for somebody else, it might be get up and change their diet.
There's different things for each of us that helps us to, as you say, harvest more joy, as I might say, cultivate more joy in our lives. So I'm just thinking while you're talking through this joy recipe, these different ingredients, and how, maybe each of us adds the ingredients differently or has a different amount, like has a different need for a different amount of ingredient, right? But then how, as you started sharing about your story initially, how you basically were giving all of the, what we might call a conventional check marks for success. You had the corporate job, you made the good money, you could buy the stuff that you wanted, right? Like, but you weren't feeling joy. In fact, you were feeling what some may call the opposite, the very stark, contrasting opposite of joy, the depths of the darkness. And then when you let that, I don't know if you let that idea of success go or not, but something shifted, right? Where like you couldn't hold it anymore. That's when the joy journey started for you. And I'm curious if it at the time, what was your what was the success you were reaching for? Do you know, like pre-joy journey, although of course all of this is actually a part of your joy journey, but pre being more directly introduced to joy and how it can be a part of success. What is it? What was the success you were reaching for? Like, how would you have defined success before?
I mean, the real depth, it really was a question of, okay, I'm going to stay alive. Today's going to live to be another day, right? That really was at the lowest level to say that it was a good day, right? And that's hard, you're not open to any message of joy, sort of that depth. And it really is a struggle. As I say, I was fortunate enough to have the time and the space to be able to resolve that challenge over time without professional help. But I know a lot of people can benefit from real professional help in the type of situation. So definitely say for anybody feeling that depth of unjoy, definitely reach out to people who can help you rather than try to go it alone. For sure. But moving beyond that, to me, the word just came to me all the time. First word was be open. Right. And the second word was have faith. Although at that point I had no sort of real spiritual essence to my life. But to have faith that whatever I was doing was leading me in the right direction and not to go back. Right? Going back was not a solution. And I think, COVID, in a way, when we looked at some of the research around that, where a lot of people, when we researched them during COVID, said, I want to change my job. I want a new career. I want to do something else, right? We were given this fantastic opportunity to sit back, have space, to have a discussion with ourselves about who we are, what we want. And a lot of people made a choice then to say yes, or an intention that I would like to change. The reality now, a couple of years on, is that most people are still in the place where they were pre-COVID and haven't been able to make that transition to what their purpose is, what's going to bring them joy. And that's obviously something we want to help as many people as we can make that change, because change is hard. It's easy to say.
Change is hard and it's part of life, right? So that kind of segues us into, I think, joy, I think, can sound nice. Again, it can sound like a luxury, and it's not. I believe very deeply now that joy is intended to be a part of our growth here, our experience here, in this world, on this earth, with one another, and our relationships. But not everyone feels that way, because not everyone has had even the exposure, the depth of exposure to the possibility that joy can exist, or the potential of joy can be something that they get to have. It can feel so far away. It can feel, like you said earlier, kind of like how that happiness is fleeting. Joy can get conflated with that, I think, sometimes. And so the reality, and you tell me if you agree or not, Andrew, but the reality of what I see personally, professionally, and experience as well is that, life isn't all stars and, gold and glitter, right? Like, it's not. There is so much beauty in life. And also there is there is challenge, there are these other things, right? And in these most recent years, these past 4 to 8 years, I would say for many people, there has been a lot of evidence of hate, of societal pain and trauma, of division and crisis and illness and loss and grief. And I could go on and on and on, right? So for someone who like you has experienced the depths, the darkness, the depths, and I can relate to that as well in a different time of my life and a little bit of a different experience. But what do we do with that? Like, where does joy fit in with the tough stuff?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you 100%. We did some research into, the different crises happening in the world. I think there's approximately 40 different things you could define as a societal crisis, right? From all the things from climate to political to financial. And so, at least within the confines of that, I think it becomes even more important that you find some way to find your own joy to balance that. Especially with these mobile devices, that we can become consumed in negativity, become consumed in fear. One of the researches we did into the media was looking at headlines. When we did that, it was sort of 7 negative headlines to 2 neutral to 1 positive in any newsfeed. So, we were being bombarded, especially during COVID, with just so much negativity, so much fear. And if you don't have a counterbalance to that, that can consume you. That can really consume you. And I think, the joy ultimately to be able to find it and understand that it's your own joy. It's not something you can find on Instagram, right? Or TikTok. It's not somebody else's joy. It's really related to where you are today and what you can get out of today to bring that smile to your face, to let you breathe, to let you sit, to reduce your heart rate, all these things that enable you to see the world as a better place. And it sounds trite somehow, but, nature is such a beautiful place where you can do that. You don't need to go to the Grand Canyon to experience the joys of nature. But it's hard to do when you're focused on the worries of the world around you or your own anxiety related to your own life. So it's definitely not easy, which I think brings us to the second building block, really, which is belonging.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Again, loneliness, I think the Surgeon General in the US said it's, worse impact on society in the US than smoking at the moment. I think the number I picked up was it costs the economy $154 billion annually, this loneliness crisis. Our own research, when we did it, I think showed us that frighteningly 1 in 12 people said they had no friends they could call in a time of need. Okay. So yes, maybe family, but outside of that, they didn't have anybody that they would really call a true friend. And that's quite shocking.
Yeah. And the irony of how you said, these mobile devices are, it's so ironic because they're supposed to get us more connected, right? Where we can, and in many ways we can connect in a greater variety, right? And with more convenience. However, we are feeling more disconnected, which as a society equates to for most people as loneliness.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a great person alone. I love being alone. But I clearly distinguish in my head when I'm enjoying being alone as when I'm feeling good. Doesn't mean we need to surround ourselves with other people. Sometimes the worst loneliness I felt has been in a relationship that isn't working. Right? That's even worse than actually being alone, in my opinion. So, be aware of that distinction between those two words and embrace loneliness when you need your own space, when you need your own boundaries. So it's okay. I'm happy with myself. But if it gets to the stage where you're feeling disconnected in an authentic way from society, I think it's the difference between, if we try to do this call that we're doing today in a TikTok, or even in a short on Instagram, right? It wouldn't have that same depth of connection that we're getting to now. And that worries me that, society and our brains have been led down this path of instant gratification, instant hits. We've got to be more multitasking, more dun, 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 when I think there's a lot of joy to be had in slowing down, in connecting genuinely and taking time to talk to somebody, to get to know them, as opposed to just rushing on to the next person you've got to like their post or comment on to get through the day.
It's interesting because it's another way, right, for us to create these false perceptions of what success is. Even if we look at social media, oh, they're successful because they have this booming Instagram or this booming TikTok or X, Y, or Z. When the reality is that what we see on TikTok or Instagram, yes, they may have gotten numerical success, but that doesn't mean that they're feeling successful. They could be, or they couldn't be. We don't know. It's not, the numbers on social media aren't demonstrative of someone actually feeling success in the sense of fulfillment and satisfaction and joy in their lives, but we mix them up, just like you were saying in your career, right? You were in the corporate, right? All of those check marks, I had hit up all the check marks too, right? Like in my career, and I just wasn't feeling that fulfillment. I wasn't allowing, and I didn't even realize that I wasn't allowing the flow of joy as much as I could, as much as I really desire to, and that I would benefit from. And it sounds like, so the door that you began to open to your joy journey started with you repeating to yourself, be open, have faith. And as you did that, it led you into a place of more exploring community and connection and belonging in that way. Is that accurate to kind of synthesize like that, or would you shift that at all?
Well, again, it would be another whole journey, but it led me down a wondrous myriad of paths. Some were dead ends, some were quite dangerous, some were brilliant, and so, but it showed me that there were many different ways to live my life. And there wasn't just that one corporate, get up in the morning, go to the work, da, 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 da. And that led me to connect with many people living alternative lifestyles and enjoying it. And it also led me to discover communities in so-called poorer nations. I mentioned I was in Guatemala when I was doing the journey itself. I was in steppes of Peru. And I remember being in a place where, basically no running water, just no floors, but just mud floors, just corrugated iron on the roofs, and sitting with these folks, some of the happiest people you could ever meet. And one of the things that I talked to them when they went to work every morning to the fields, I said, well, what happens if you get ill? How do you deal with that? And they said, oh, we don't worry here because my neighbor will, do my plot that morning as well as their own. Right? Because they know if their turn to get ill, somebody else is going to do that for them. So that sense of community that they had there, which was the foundation of their joy. And I think in Western society, that's something that we've really lost. Not only friends, but that broader sense of community of helping somebody when we see them in trouble.
This, and the word that comes to mind for me as you're speaking into that is safety, which I know a lot of people don't even equate with that, but think about it, right? If I have to deal with everything on my own, and if any crap hits the fan, right, I'm responsible for it. Everything's going to fall on me. I have to juggle all the balls, like this hyper independent on your own type of culture, then how we don't feel safe to be able to rely on our communities or our connections or X, Y, or Z, these resources and supports that we we want to be able to rely on, but we can't because we don't feel that sense of safety. It's not safe either because they're not going to be there, or it's not safe because then we're going to look like a failure, or it's not, there's a variety. It's not safe because of systemic issues like racism and sexism and blah, blah, blah. Like there's all of these reasons, these layers why it doesn't feel safe. And if we're not feeling safe, we're feeling this pressure to keep go, and do, then it's like again, the success is just outward, right? Like it's just that outward check mark success, but that joy, that felt joy is not happening because it's actually it's an inward journey.
Okay, so we've created a world, especially in the Western world, where that security is based pretty much 100% on financial security, right? So, we're forced into a situation where we believe we have to gather more and more resources, more and more money to ourselves to be able to feel safe. Now, I've the luxury of knowing friends who have been successful in business. They might own 4 houses, 2 boats, whatever, but they're still scared. Right? They're still fearful. They're afraid of losing that, not having as much as somebody else. What's going to happen? Right. So, once you go down that road, it quite often becomes the case that enough is never enough. Now, having said that, especially, in light of the cost of living crisis we're going through now, many people are really suffering, with the basics, buy fresh fruit, fresh vegetables and stuff like that. So, that really is fundamental, and everybody should have the money, in my opinion, to be able to live healthily. That should be the ground base for everybody. We shouldn't have humans on the planet who are able to have that nurture, that thing, because you're down at Maslow's hierarchy, at a really base level, and creating that where you just have hopelessness and fear, right? And you can't find joy if you can't put food on your table. It's as simple as that. But once you've got 4 houses, forgive me, you shouldn't feel any sense of insecurity, right? You've had more than enough money to live a reasonable life, no matter what happens to you at that stage. So, in reality, there's no need for that amount of wealth if it's going to make you feel anxious, or it's going to make you feel
except the more we have, the more we can lose, right?
Correct.
Like that's how, because that's the scarcity mindset, right? But it's like, so I accrue all of these things in order to make these indicators of success. So I've got all this stuff, or I've got all this status, but now I'm more at risk of also losing it. I have more, so I'm more at risk of losing it. And now I have to protect it. And it's like, it doesn't matter where someone is at on the financial scale. Someone could be living in fear and therefore not being able to really feel that joy, tap into that joy, and therefore look successful, but feeling an enormous.
And to me, it comes down, ultimately to purpose, right? Ultimately at the goal. And that's where I think, the Maslow hierarchy is sort of flawed in today's world and today's needs, where they have that purpose, that self-actualization as the pinnacle, right? You have to have everything else in place to reach there. I'd say no. Actually, once you got past the basic level of, the lions aren't trying to eat you and you've got food on the table and you've got shelter, then really your focus should be on your purpose, on your self-actualization. What makes me happy, drives me to fulfill myself as well as fulfill my role in society. And if you achieve that, you'll find that you'll have a community around you, right? People will start to support you in your effort to do that, which will give you that sense of security, but also financial rewards will start to come towards you when you're doing that. And so you'll ultimately get security, right? You'll get security as a result.
Was that your experience, Andrew?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm still on that journey. I'm still gathering the people around me who can do that. But very much that was my experience. It was the point I said that this is what I want to do, that everything flipped, right? I had the space. I woke up every morning thinking, yes, today's a great day. I get to talk with somebody like you, right? Fantastic. Already made my day. And so because I'm doing something I love and something I feel that can also benefit others, I'm able to to just feel differently, then I have to wait until I get home from work before I can find joy. Shocking statistic, 72% of young people want to quit their jobs, right? Because they don't find them fulfilling. That's not sustainable. These people are going to be 30% of the workforce in 5 years or so. So companies should be looking at that saying, hold on, they're not going to work for me, right? They're going to come in, maybe they'll do 6 months and then they're going to want to go off and do whatever, right? We're not creating environments, organizations where they can feel that they're living their purpose. They're either going to quit or they're going to quiet quit, both of which have, huge impacts, both for them personally, the mental health crisis of the individual, but also for the business leaders, the cost to the economy of the mental health crisis. Again, it's probably about $350 billion, the last figures I looked at. But that's costing corporations in America annually, as well as obviously the human toll. So both elements here from this mismatch between what organizations are doing and people want to do.
And I think asking ourselves, what is my purpose? It can feel like a really big question for folks. One of the ways that I have found, and everyone needs to find their own language around it, right? But one of the ways that I have found to be helpful for me is to ask, like, how would I like to meaningfully contribute? What are the best ways that I meaningfully contribute? What are the times, what are the experiences where I feel most meaningfully connected? And for me, that always comes back somehow to connecting with my sense of purpose, whether I can put words to it at any given time, like this is my purpose, right? Like this is my meaning of life, whether I can put, like specific titles and stuff to it at any given time, doesn't even matter. If I can just check in with myself in various moments and be like, how can I best meaningfully connect today? How can I best meaningfully contribute today with myself and, towards others? Because I think sometimes when we are wanting to be selfless, then we forget ourselves. And when we're wanting to be self-protected, then we forget others. And I think we need to be able to ask ourselves that question for both, right? For ourselves and for others.
Right.
But we've got to break it down and check in with ourselves. It's not something that we can just figure out and then it's done, one and done and boom, here we go, off to the races.
Get the Superman suit on. Absolutely not. I think there's 2 simple tasks that, I've done. The first was really hard for me. The second actually ended up being easier. But the first was to actually just take a blank piece of paper and write down, what am I good at? Right? And it could be just the simple things that, I'm good at smiling. I'm good at booking. It doesn't have to be, corporate speak, but whatever, you're good at. And then parallel to that, what I'm actually passionate about. Does it get me fired up? I might be good at something, but I couldn't care less. Knock that off. So if you find a short list of things that you feel you're good at, and ask people if you don't know yourself, right? Ask your partner, ask your friends, your colleagues, your parents, anybody, right? What am I good at? What do you think what makes me special? And they'll help you. They'll come up with these little things. So that's one thing I'd recommend. And then the second thing is to sort of visualize yourself as a child and to start thinking about what did you enjoy doing when you were 5, 6, 7, before the pressures of the world got to you. And it might have been sport, but what was it about the sport? Was it the actual winning or was it being part of the team? Different things could appeal to different people. So once you've got those 2 lists, I think your purpose will start coming to you more naturally when you do that. You don't have to force it, as you said. You don't have to start thinking, I need my purpose. But I think, ultimately I say to my kids, if you find something that you enjoy doing and something you're good at, then that's your purpose. Just go for it. And that might change over time, but that's good enough. Today, the energy you're projecting out into the world each day is you're waking up and saying, today's going to be a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Enjoy this day.
And do what I'm here. Yeah, slowing down for that self-reflection. I do want to ask you, because I know that there's different facets of joy, right? That you research, that you teach on, and that you yourself apply, you try to apply in your life. And one of those is with regard to emotional intelligence for children. So I want to just spend a little bit, at least a little bit, right, of time around how can we translate this conversation we're having here around joy being a part of success, even when things are hard, when it comes to parenting. So I'm pregnant with my fifth, as you know, right? So I've got a 14-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 6-year-old, a 1-year-old, and this little guy that's on the way in a couple months. And by the time this airs, the little guy will be here. But I know for sure that the saying that I've heard people say is like, you're only as happy as your unhappiest child is BS. Like that is why to put ourselves in a position where you're only allowed to be as happy as your unhappiest child means that you're unable to pour into them from a space of emotional health and support and reliability, right? And I've heard people say that, and it always sits poorly with me. So I'm curious because of your perspective on this, because our kids aren't always going to be happy. Like they're not supposed to always be happy. Well, they're not always going to be pleased with us, or they're not always going to be pleased with, other people. And they're not always going to have a smooth road, and we can't keep them in a bubble, but we will always be their parents, right? And we want to be able to do that successfully and not devoid of joy, right? We want to be able to do that successfully with some joy as part of that experience. So can you speak a little bit to that?
Oh, that was a long introduction. I could just imagine with 5 children, and if you're going down that philosophy, you're not going to have a very happy life, right? I presume at any point in time, one of them's having a rough moment, right? So let's sort of knock that out the park and say that's not a good life philosophy. It's like saying with your friends, right? I'm only as happy as my most unhappy friend. Right? Forget it, especially in that parent-child responsibility relationship where, ultimately the parent has that responsibility. And, so one of the things that, I have the pleasure of doing is running the charity EQJoy, which is focused on helping children develop emotional intelligence skills through the power of play. And we, when we looked at this, it really became evident that developing these skills is something missing in a lot of places, right? A lot of families, a lot of schools, a lot of communities are not placing, in my opinion, enough emphasis on emotional intelligence and how important that is to create ultimately adults who will become good parents for their children. So we wanted to step back, and even though we want to teach adults emotional intelligence, because a lot of us, including myself, struggle with that. Anybody who knows me will know it's not one of my strengths. So the cards are also very useful for me to explore my own emotions in different situations. But we decided, if we can, before children hit the challenges of teens, and, we've talked a lot about how young adults are struggling. We know, particularly during the pandemic, so many teenage children in particular struggled with the situation. And a lot of that was to do with, frankly, a lack of emotional intelligence to be able to deal with that situation. And also, obviously, in the family dynamic area. So, our focus at the moment is on preteens and how they can start building those skills by understanding not only the big emotions, but to getting into the weeds of the nuanced emotions of, no, I'm not angry. I'm actually frustrated. Or I'm disappointed, which leads me to display anger, as I don't know how to deal with it in more healthy ways. But that's not the problem. Anger for the child, as parents can often say to the children, why are you angry? That isn't the question. What's causing you? What is the root cause of that? And if we can look at the cards and start pulling them out and say, well, yeah, actually, I am disappointed that I wanted to do this, and you said no, couldn't deal, we didn't have time, and all of a sudden now, the thing is exploding. And equally flip the other way around, that parents can do that when they shout at their child, to pull back and understand and have that conversation with the child, that expression wasn't anger. They don't hate the child and angry with the child, but they're venting their own frustration or their own anguish or guilt or whatever the root cause of it is behind that. And I think once you get out of that situation where that emotion is happening and you get around the kitchen table and you're having a laugh about things, and then you can have that conversation around really what happened, but then how can we deal with it? How did that feel in the body? How could we start expressing ourselves in different ways? It's so powerful when you see it in action, and it's a lot of fun.
And so the cards that you all have as part of your charity are helpful to identify the emotions so we can work through them. And as a therapist and as someone who's worked with children and families for many, many years, it sounds basic, right? Like being able to identify our emotions sounds so basic, but it is a basic skill that can help us in so many ways that are honestly like they're not super tangible. I can measure these exact ways. Sure, there are ways that we can measure, and there are ways that have absolutely been measured in the research, but it is a felt experience in my perspective that matters the most. You can feel the difference in your interactions with your kids, in your connection with your kids, in your connection with yourself, or even with your partner. Like you can feel that. And to me, that's what matters most. So what would you say is like a helpful way to bring joy, help cultivate and harvest that joy, bring that into the equation as a parent is navigating tough times, tough emotions?
I think my main, recommendation would be to separate the two things out.
Mm.
So actually, we recommend using the cards when there's nothing going. You just got a spare 20 minutes or whatever with the kids. Just sit down and play. Right? No judgment. There's no hidden conversation happening here. Right? You're just going to play charades. Right? Pick up a card, say boredom, act out. Situation where you felt bored at school, at home, whatever it was. And then, we provide a lot of resources online in terms of you can go to the Planet Boredom and you can listen to music, which could reflect boredom. You could look at art. You could do some activities together around that topic, unrelated to what's going on in your lives, right? So that distinction between this isn't a life lesson because you've done something wrong or because you've acted badly, right? This is just a great learning experience, which can be fun, which will then be of value to you when that situation happens. And, when that situation of boredom actually comes up and the kid misbehaves because of that and starts drawing on the walls or whatever they've done, or got your lipstick out, your expensive makeup and used it all. You could have that conversation. Say, well, I was bored, right? And then that really is what's going on, and then you can talk different ways to do it. So that would be my number one bit of advice. Don't always wait until the heat of the moment to have those discussions, but separate them. Two different things. Right?
I love that you said play. Like when you said that word, it stuck out to me and it made me think of what I do. So my kids and I, we just have dance parties in the middle of, unscheduled, in the middle of the living room. And I almost always, as long as I'm doing the dance party because I want to and not because I feel like I should or I have to, right? Like I'm almost always feeling better and more joyful. I'm like, and then I was just doing this the other day with the baby, and two of my other kids were in the room too. And we were just dancing, and I'm very pregnant right now. So I wasn't like jumping up and down, but I was like sitting on the floor and rolling my head and putting my arms all over the place. And she just thought it was hilarious. And her laugh was contagious and it made me laugh. And there's just so much joy in the room. And wasn't like, it wasn't planned. It wasn't, addressing a specific behavior or like it was just playing. It was just playing and being silly. And I think we forget about that. So I love that you said that, Andrew, because as parents, the truth is that we do have a lot of responsibilities. We have a lot of things on our plates. As professionals that want to be successful, we have a lot of responsibilities. We have a lot of stuff on our plates. As citizens that are passionate about the work that we do in the world and how we show up, we have a lot of responsibilities. We have a lot of things on our plates, but if we forget to just like be silly and play, then that also detracts, right, from the joy. If we let that be a part of the success equation, success can feel good and fun and more satisfying, more joyful, more often. And I love feeling that and just thinking about that. So I'm so glad that you said just a simple word, right? But one that can really make a difference.
And I think what you learn is that kids can actually be much more creative than adults, right? When it comes to this type of thing, when you're asking them to act out a particular emotion, once they start to understand it, they will come up with some fantastic ways of doing this with humor, right? And we are so defined and sort of boxed as adults into thinking that this means that, whereas they don't have that blockage. So I think also as parents, when you get into this learning of emotions through play, you can actually learn from your children as much as teach them, so they can be a gift to you in helping you unforget your programming that you've gone through after the last 20, 30, 40 years of life has taught you can't behave this way or you can't do that in that situation.
That's true.
Just embrace their creativity and find joy in that as well.
Oh, thank you so much. I love this conversation, and I think we covered a lot of ground in the time that we've been together. So I want to close with this question, and then I'm going to let you share your gift with the audience because I know you have a gift for them, and we'll let them know how they can connect with you and all that good stuff. So here's the question. Reflecting on this conversation we've had today, but also, of course, in the life that you have lived thus far, what would you say your redefined definition of success is for you and for your life?
Interesting. If I'm going to say it in a word, I think the word has to be love. That ultimately, I think, that's why we're here, to love and be loved. And I know life gets in the way of that quite a lot. But, I just hope everybody will take a moment to reflect on that. And love can mean many different things, right? So take it in the broader sense of the word you can and think about it. Are you doing enough to love others? And are you receiving and open to receiving love in all its different ways? I think that's ultimately the redefinition that I would come.
Simple yet powerful and deep, right? One of the things that I say to my boys, especially when I just do like a little prayer with them at night, is that I hope that I'm prayerful that they'll feel loved and spread love. And that reminds me of exactly what you just said, that redefined definition of success being love.
Yeah. And, do you say it to your children simply, right? Every day, I love you. Do you say it to your partner? Do you show it in different ways, right? It's not all about gifts. There's many little things you can do through the way you are to express that you love them, but also accept the love that they're giving you and don't push it back away. So embrace it in both areas. So I think if you do that, that will definitely lead you down a path to joy, for sure.
Yes. Oh, Andrew, for folks that are really, they're loving what you're sharing, they're really resonating with your message, they're interested in your work, EQJoy, your work around, emotional intelligence with children, your work around joy with adults, where could they find you? Where's the best place for them to go to connect?
So we're on all the social media as well as the website. So it's EQJoy.org. and the art and science of joy.com. You'll no doubt share those in the notes. So that's cool. For that, on the Year of Joy site, there is a subpage called the Year of Joy. which is the gateway to our community platform, which is, one of the gifts that I'm offering today to say to people, if you want more joy in your lives, we invite you to join the EQJoy community and join thousands of other individuals who are there harvesting and helping others harvest more joy in their lives. It's free to join. Community, no obligation. So just dive in if you like it, hang around. If you don't, get out and find joy somewhere else. It's all good. It's all good. But it's a gift. It's a gift. And then on the EQJoy website, there's a possibility there if people want to donate to the charity. We work with a number of different charities to give these cards for free to children in need. Whether it's children, for example, entering the foster care system, people struggling to find joy in their lives. It's a gift that we give willingly. So anything your listeners can do to support that, we are truly grateful for helping those underprivileged kids find the path to emotional intelligence and through that to joy.
Generous gifts that you give willfully and joyfully to help others harvest joy in their lives. Thank you so much for being here with us, Andrew. I enjoyed our conversation. No doubt others have also enjoyed and benefited from it as well. Folks, if you are joining us from YouTube, go ahead and leave a comment below, question, contributions, and click the links. I'll put them in the show notes from what Andrew has shared. He's got great gifts, great community, and there's great ways to follow him if you want to stay in touch with him. Until next time, everyone, may you go out, may you experience success that is meaningful to you, feels good to you, and goes out and makes positive ripple effects in this world. Bye, everyone. Links related to this episode can be found in the show notes section. Want to submit questions about success, satisfaction, healing, and relationships, health, or work? You can do that free and anonymous at drtonywarner.com, where you'll find other resources there as well. Did you benefit from this episode? You can subscribe, like, and share with another to pass it on, because anyone can listen on the go with this podcast audio available on all major podcasting platforms.